welcome to MAT-S Internship 1 and 2 training. So this training is for both university supervisors and actual teacher interns, students. So university supervisors should have received in email, or will receive in an email, all of the assignments that are listed here in these PDF versions. You'll get the calendar and all assignments in the form of an email. Students, you're going to get all of this in a packet in the mail, so you should be receiving that very soon. University supervisors, you're going to need to put in Watermark. Watermark is our online portfolio system. Watermark is what students will submit their lesson plans and all assignments in, and university supervisors is what you're going to log in to grade. And I see that we haven't updated this. It was TaskStream, so if you have a TaskStream account, you actually already have a Watermark account. TaskStream merged with other companies like themselves that had the portfolio system in place, and they became Watermark after merging. I think 3 or 4 companies merged together. TaskStream bought those out. So now those companies together are called Watermark. But you may, in some of these assignments and some of this that we failed to get updated, you might see the word TaskStream. So if you already have a TaskStream account, you're good. You'll still be able to log in. It'll just take you to Watermark. If you do not, if you're brand new, then Tiffany Middleton is going to use your email, university supervisors, that you gave Donna Shea when she hired you, or students, she's going to use your NetID at mississippistate.edu to create you a Watermark account. You will then receive an email from Watermark, and you'll be able to set up your account and create your password, your unique password. If you have any questions about Watermark, Tiffany Middleton is the project coordinator that oversees that. So her phone number is 662-325-0028 if you need any help with Watermark. 662-325-0028. So there's going to be a confirmation of training. It's just going to be a button that you click on in Watermark University Supervisors. Interns, you don't have to do this, but University Supervisors, for accreditation purposes, our accreditor wants to know that you were trained. So there will be a place every semester for you to click on and to put in that you were trained, either face-to-face if you were trained face-to-face, or it'll be a place where you can put online if you were trained online, and just basically fall 2017 or fall 2018 online. Just give the semester and the method by which you were trained. So, but you can see you're going to have a calendar that you should go by, and don't let yourself get behind. The number one reason that our undergraduate interns or our graduate interns fail to be successful in internship is because they get overwhelmed. They get behind. They wait till the last minute to turn an assignment. Life happens. The assignment is subpar because they didn't put their time in, and they just get overwhelmed. We've had some to drop out because they get overwhelmed. I would suggest that you carve out a period of time, 6 days a week, that you work a little bit along the way. Prioritize, look ahead, prioritize, see what's due, what's most important, and work a little bit along the way. I was able to obtain my master's and my doctorate while I was working full-time and with a full family. So I could only do that by doing just as I said. I am a morning person, so I would get up before I went to work, and I would devote at least an hour every morning to doing a little bit along the way, either for what I had to do for work. At the time I was getting my master's, I was a full-time teacher with 3 preps. I taught physics, anatomy, and physiology, and biology. And when I was getting the doctorate, I was full-time, 12 months in the position that I'm in now, Director of OCFBI. But I just say that to say it can be done. You just can't procrastinate. Maybe you're more alert and better at night, and can do a little bit, maybe an hour before you go to bed every night to devote to whatever needs to be done, lesson plans, internship assignments, or whatnot. I can tell you that a planning period, if you're going to be an effective teacher, a planning period is not enough time. After 12 years of teaching, and most of those 12 years I taught the same thing, biology, most every year, I still had to, a good teacher, you still want to change up your lesson plan somewhat. Now, of course, every year does get easier, but devote the time. Devote the time. Don't let yourself get behind. So for these assessments, your university supervisor is going to visit you and conduct an assessment 4 times. You can see that the first formative assessment will be conducted sometime between September the 3rd and September the 7th. So between the 3rd and the 7th is your first formative assessment. So make sure that your university supervisor is going to come out to see you during this time period, and you are going to, that university supervisor is going to use the teacher intern assessment instrument to evaluate a lesson, and we will look at that teacher intern assessment instrument in a few minutes. But what I wanted you to see is that the lesson plans are due in task stream just for 2 weeks before each assessment. Lesson plans are due 2 weeks. 2 weeks of lesson plans are due before whenever your university supervisors are going to conduct that assessment. So you can see the second formative is due between the 8th and the 12th. So this week is when they will be coming out to evaluate you, and your lesson plans are due in Watermark 2 weeks of lesson plans before here. So you're going to put 2 weeks of lesson plans in before that university supervisor comes out to evaluate you. So these two are formative, so they do not count toward your grade. Then you have the summative, is due between the 1st and the 8th. So the university supervisor is going to visit you sometime, either the 1st, 2nd, one of these days to evaluate a lesson. But lesson plans are going to be put in 2 weeks of lesson plans before this visit. It tells the university supervisor when these have to be submitted or graded, submitted in Watermark. And these two do count again toward your grade. The summative assessments count. The same instrument is used for all 4 of these assessments. And to look at and receive training on that instrument, you need to go to ocfbi.msstate.edu. ocfbi.msstate.edu. When you get to that website, you're going to go to Teaching Internship. When you get there, you go to Training. The Teacher Intern Assessment Instrument is an instrument that is used by every institution across Mississippi. So Ole Miss uses it for their undergraduate interns and their graduate interns. Belhaven, William Carey, USM, Delta State, Mississippi State, we all use the same Teacher Intern Assessment Instrument. So this training has been put together so that every mentor teacher, every alternate route intern, every university supervisor can go through this training and all get that same common understanding of each of the indicators within the instrument. So the TIAI is composed of 5 domains. You're going to be assessed on your planning and preparation, your assessment, your instruction, your learning environment that you create and maintain and adjust, your professional responsibilities. And within that TIAI, you're going to have for each one of the 25 indicators, you're going to either make unacceptable, needs improvement, meet standard, or exceed standard. So what we need for you to do is to create an account. So you're going to create an account, and then what you're going to see when you get in there is you're going to see Tiffany Middleton put together for the whole state of Mississippi a Prezi. If you're not familiar with a Prezi is kind of like a PowerPoint on steroids. So for every one of these indicators, you're going to see, and every one of the indicators, you're going to see some explanation of what they mean so that everybody understands each indicator. So for every domain, there is a portion of the Prezi that has been pulled out. So you're going to watch the Prezi. There's going to be videos that help support this. There's going to be slides that help you understand. And then at the end of each domain, you're going to have some questions to answer after you watch the portion of the Prezi. There's going to be questions to answer after every domain, and you have to meet a certain level. I can't remember the percent, maybe 70 or 80% that you have to get correct in order to go on to the next domain. And this is something you can work on. If you don't have time to do it all in one setting, you can leave out and come back in and pick back up where you left off. But this is something that needs to be done so that you are fully intimate with and understand every part of the TIAI. Now we're going to look at different assignments that you'll have throughout the internship. You're going to have a parent involvement activity. Here are the instructions. Basically, for the parent involvement activity, you're going to come up with some ways that you involve parents and their child or family members. It doesn't have to be, it can be guardian, family members within that child's education or those children's education. So these are just some examples of things that you can do. You can have notes home. I would say that if you're going to write notes home, and I think it's a good thing, you want to make sure that you're mindful that you're establishing relationships with those family members, the parent, the guardian, the aunt that the child lives with, or whomever. You don't want to send notes about little Johnny home that are always negative. You know, that poor family member may not have ever received a positive comment about little Johnny, and you want to be that teacher that finds the positive things that little Johnny does and send those notes home that are positive, and make sure that you get that guardian on your side. And I'm telling you from experience, if you can get the guardian on your side and they know that you care about little Johnny and that you really have his best interest at heart, they're going to stand behind you, most often stand behind you and support you in getting little Johnny to behave. And if little Johnny knows that you care about him, I mean, you give positive affirmations to little Johnny and he knows that you care about him, he's going to, most of the time I've observed, bend over backwards to please you and to pay attention. Relationship is so important. So the parent involvement activity requires that you reflect back over 2 different ways that you involved the family members. It may be letters home, it may be newsletters, it may be maybe you had donuts for dad and you would take photographs of that event that you had, or it may be are you smarter than the 5th grader? You brought the class in and their parents and you just had a fun little activity with them on a Thursday night, and maybe that's in coordination with that they were already there for a open house and you had that at that time. So you're going to reflect and write a paper about 2 different ways that you involved your parents. And you're going to have, you're going to always have a rubric for every assignment. Every assignment has a rubric. I would say always write to target. Always strive for whatever the highest it may be. It exceeds the standard on the TIAI. Most of these assignments is going to be target. You always want to shoot for the most points that you can get. There's going to be a parent involvement log. This is just the instructions for keeping this log. Any calls, and as an educator, you're going to always want to keep documentation of any communication that you've had with parents and guardians. That's the rubric to grade you on that. And then you're going to have an introductory letter as part of this assignment. At the beginning of the semester, you would always want to write a letter and send it home, giving a little bit of information about your background, nothing personal, just why you're interested in teaching, what is your philosophy of education, and so forth. What are you teaching, and so forth. Just a little bit of information to introduce yourself. And then there's going to be a rubric that the university supervisor will use to assess you on that. You have an impact on student learning assignment, which is a pretty large assignment. It's going to take you quite some time to put this one together. For the impact on student learning assignment, you want to choose a unit or something that's going to take you a couple of weeks, probably would be the length of time to cover this assignment. And basically you're demonstrating, hopefully, with this assignment that you had an impact on student learning. However, if it shows that you didn't, your students really didn't learn that much, you're not penalized. It just helps you to see the data. So what you're going to do here is you're going to, and I'll just give you basically in a nutshell what this is, you're going to have the contextual factors of a class. And let's say you are a biology teacher, then you would only choose one class period, fifth period biology. You would just choose one period. If you're an elementary teacher and you teach 3 different sections of social studies, you would just pick one section of social studies. So contextual factors, you're going to have all of this information about that particular class and school district and community. And you would probably, I hope, have a mentor at your school since you're a new teacher, or you might be able to reach out to a department head or an assistant principal or principal if you have trouble finding any of this information. Some of the information can be found on Mississippi Department of Education's website. So basically you're going to think about what unit you're going to be covering or what big section you're going to be covering. You're going to come up with the learning goals, main learning goals for that and objectives for that segment of lessons. You're not going to write the lesson plans though. You're going to put together a pre-assessment to cover all that you will be covering in that unit. You're going to give the pre-assessment to that 6th period class of biology, and you're going to really look at the assessment results and analyze the assessment results. You may see that those 6th period students already know all of the cells and their parts of the cell and their functions. So that you may realize I don't need to spend time covering that because students know the parts of the cell. Some teacher that they had before me really did a great job at teaching the parts of the cell and their functions. So then you're going to plan your lessons for those days afterwards based on those pre-assessment results. You're going to implement those plans. You're going to teach those lessons, and during that time you're going to be creating assessments. You may give formative assessments, just quick little checks of understanding that really don't count toward their grade, or you may give summative assessments. Maybe you give a little quiz or a test at the end of certain sections, testing objectives. And then you're going to give a post-assessment. That post-assessment can absolutely be the same assessment that you gave as a pre-assessment. And then you're going to analyze those results. So you're going to be required to look at 3 different levels in your analysis. You're going to look at whole group. How did the group do using the pre and post-assessment results? Then you're going to tease down into subgroups, and you get to choose those. You might say, how did the boys do opposed to the girls? Or how did those whose parents pay for their lunch do as opposed to those who receive free lunch? Or maybe how did my students who are gifted or who have learning disabilities do compared to those students who do not have exceptionalities? And then you'll look at 2 individual students and use those data. Then you're going to reflect on the paper is organized in this way. You just really follow the directions. Most of the time this ends up being, because you're going to have charts and graphs and the contextual data at the beginning, you're going to have actual assessment, examples of assessments that you use. You're going to have some student work samples. So it usually ends up being 15 to 20 pages long. And the impact on student learning rubric is given. So you're going to make sure that you write to the target. You also have observation assignments. The observation 1 assignment requires that you observe another teacher in the area of planning and instructional delivery. So you want to find an excellent teacher, and it doesn't have to be a teacher. Let's say you're a biology teacher. This could be a teacher at the elementary. Just somebody that you know is known to be an effective teacher. So you want to reach out to that teacher and schedule that observation. But before you go and observe a lesson, what you want to do is make sure that you go and interview the teacher before. So you're going to have to interview and get all of these questions answered as part of the interview, because these are the questions that you're actually going to then need to have included in the paper. And this is not an assignment where you just answer the questions. This is an assignment where you answer the questions in the form of a paper. But there is a rubric associated with this assignment. And like I said, this could be, you may be a social studies, high school social studies teacher, and you may go and observe a 5th grade science teacher that's just known to be an effective teacher. For observation 2, this is an assignment where you have to observe another teacher, but focus is classroom management. So let's say you are a kindergarten teacher or a 3rd grade teacher, and it's known that the 6th grade teacher at your school, or the 8th grade teacher at a middle school, or an English teacher at the high school, they really have it going on in the area of classroom management. They have routines in place. Students have jobs. It's just a well-oiled machine. They don't have any behavior problems because everybody knows what the rules are. They're consistently, consequences are consistently delivered. All students are treated the same. Everybody has respect for one another. It's understood in the classroom that everybody respects one another. They respect the teacher respects the students, and so forth. So you would want to find that teacher within your school or within your district, and you would go and observe a lesson. You do not have an interview component before observing this teacher. You just need to read the assignment before you go in, because there are things that you would be purposefully looking for and address. And in the form of the paper, again, you're not answering questions, you are writing a paper and to include this information within the paper. You are not evaluating these teachers in any way. What you're doing is really looking at what they're doing and trying to glean from their already established knowledge in these areas. Then you have a photo assignment. Another assignment is a photo assignment. And a part of this assignment is you're going to have this form printed out and signed and uploaded and watermarked. And this is just, you're going to be required to take a photo. It could be a photo of just your class when they're all doing centers of your elementary. Maybe a photo of your class when they are doing in the middle of a project-based assignment or a lab of some sort. You just have to have a photo that you upload. So any students that are in that photo that you use for this assignment, you have to have one of these signed by their parent. If you have students that are not in the photo, then you do not have to have this submitted for those students. Here's the rest of it. This tells you the explanation of what you need to do for that, but then you also have to have your own permission form, just you signing it, giving us permission to use the photo if we should have need to have a photo for recruitment purposes or whatever, for accreditation purposes or whatever purposes. Another assignment is the reflection. So this is going to require that at the very end of the semester you look back, you think back over the semester, and you write a short paper including all that's within the instructions, and that's the rubric for that. There are some assessments other than TIAI. You're going to be assessed on your content. Now this particular one is on English. but there's going to be a different CAPA, of course, for whatever area. If you are a science teacher or a math teacher, this would say math or science or whatnot. Your university supervisor is going to go through and assess your content knowledge. This does not count toward your grade. It is just an assessment that we have to have for accreditation. And I think I said this earlier. If I didn't, all of these assignments are tied to accreditation standards. We have to be accredited and we have to maintain accreditation. If Mississippi State lost their accreditation, then Mississippi Department of Education would not issue licenses for our students that graduate from our teacher prep programs. So every one of these assignments has a purpose. There are 2 dispositions instruments that we will use, that university supervisors will use to assess. This one actually counts toward points toward your grade. It's the Mississippi State Dispositions Instrument, and this instrument is used to assess things like attendance, punctuality, dependability. How are you dressed? Are you groomed? Do you look professional every day? Do you communicate well, orally and through written communication? Do you believe that all students can learn? So these are the dispositional issues that are assessed, but we also have a statewide disposition instrument that I think I failed to get in this particular folder, but I can show it to you. The statewide disposition instrument is based upon the Mississippi Educator Code of Ethics. There is a separate training on that, and more information will be given in that training. You should be given the link to that training as well as this one. So these are the indicators that relate to the Mississippi Code of Ethics and Professional Standards of Conduct. This is formative, so it will not count toward your grade. Basically, those are the assignments that relate to your internship. You're going to have a lesson plan rubric. There is a special lesson plan rubric in, not rubric, but template in Watermark that will help you meet the standards of the TIAI, and it's called the internship rubric. So if you look for that rubric and choose that one, it will purposely cause you to put things within your lesson plan that will help your university supervisors see things that need to be in your plans in order to meet some of the requirements of the teacher intern assessment instrument. I would say that one of the most important things that you do when you first arrive in your first semester of your first year is, and some districts do a great job at induction. Some districts give you all these materials that I'm about to talk about early on. They assign a mentor to you, and they do a great job. Unfortunately, many of the school districts that give our alternate route interns their first chance at teaching do not. And if you're in one of those districts, then you're going to want to ask for a faculty handbook, a student handbook. You're going to want to look through those and make sure that you familiarize yourself. You really want to ask for board policy and peruse through board policy, see what the policies are. You want to make sure to know what is the dress code for students, what is the dress code for faculty. How do I let the administration know if I get up and I have a stomach virus and or I have a fever or the flu and I can't get to school that day? By what time and by what method do I need to let them know? Very important. Tornado, fire, intruder. What do I do? What do those bells sound like when they ring? What am I supposed to do with the students? Do we exit to the right of the classroom and go outside? Where do I take them? Do we stay in the hallway where we are? Do we go down to the basement? Do we lock the door, cover the window on the door, and hide in the corner together as a class? What do I do with my students? You need to know what you need to know about your students. Do I have students that have asthma? If so, what do I do if they have an attack? Do I have students that have seizures, issues with seizures, epilepsy? What do I do if they are having an attack in the classroom? And so forth. Get the information that you need. Make sure that you are well informed on what you need to do. And as I said, one of the main things, don't let yourself get behind. You can get so overwhelmed if you let yourself get behind. If you are a procrastinator by nature, stop that. Don't be driven by the way you feel. Oh, I'm so tired, I don't feel like getting up and working a little bit on assignments. Get up every day early or stay up at night an hour a day, early or in the evening, working on lesson plans or working on these assignments will make your life so much better. Get ahead, stay ahead, or stay on track. Prioritize what needs to be done. I would say 6 days a week, be very regimented to do this. Let yourself rest 1 day a week. Don't think about school. If you do this 6 days a week and you work a little bit every day, throughout those days, you should be able to rest and have a balanced life. However, if you're waiting to the last minute, throwing something together, that's when we see interns struggle. That's when we see interns fail to meet the requirements for internship. We are here to support you. Please reach out to Katrina Miller as your first point of contact, 662-325-1999. If you can't get Katrina, Susan can help, 662-325-0527, Susan Stewart. I'm sure you probably have communicated with both of those ladies. If you have task stream issues, Tiffany Middleton, 662-325-0028. And of course, I'm always here as well to support you, Donna Shea, 662-325-7684 is my number. Thank you for spending time, and let us know if there's anything we can do to support you.